Huge hi to everyone. Welcome to Bravo 22 Live, brought to you, made possible by the Royal British Legion and the Drive Project. I'm Sallyanne. Many of you already know me. However, if you're new to Bravo 22 and joining us today, here's a huge welcome. It's really fantastic to be with you all here today. I've been a member of Bravo 22 for quite some time now, having found my way here as a military wife. And since joining, I have completed many workshops, both in art and theatre, covering subjects such as figurative drawing, printmaking, puppet making, shadow show production, storytelling, just to mention a few of them. Most recently, with the magic of our new YouTube channel, the wonderful interweb, and the amazing Bravo 22 tech team, we have told the story of Romeo and Juliet, written poetry, practiced stand-up comedy, written comedy strips, and I've even learned how to be funny. We've learned how to illustrate comics, draw figures in perfect proportions, and I've made clay sculptures, collages, painted patterns in watercolours, and learned about some of the greatest masters in art, such as Van Gogh and Hans Holbein. There's been so much fantastic stuff going on, which gives us all that fuzzy feeling of belonging. And there's much more to come. Bravo 22 Live, our new online programme, is really about creativity, using the arts to keep your mind active, learn new things, and generally have a really good time. It's about having fun, reconnecting with your old friends and making some new connections. It's a truly fantastic organisation, and I would encourage you all to tell your military friends and their families to become involved and join us. So please spread the word. Encourage your networks to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like and share us on Facebook. Click those buttons, ding dong on those bells. So stay tuned, everyone. Today is going to be a real treat. Personally, I've never looked back. It's the best thing I ever did, was becoming part of Bravo 22. And so I'm extremely delighted this morning to be able to present to you here on Bravo 22 Live the wonderful, amazing Al Johnson. Al is a sculptor and a lecturer, and she is our brilliantly inspiring director of art for Bravo 22. Today, she's sharing the delightful company of the sculptor Jim Jack, who has given us a lovely video in the links below and produced some amazing sculptures. So please, let's welcome the lovely Jack and Al. Over to you, Al.
Lovely. What a wonderful introduction, Sallyanne. It's really lovely to hear you, because it's lovely to know how much the projects have meant to you, and I think to lots of people. We were just saying that Sallyanne spins so many projects now. It's fantastic. I'm going to introduce you to Jim Jack, a very good, very not a very old friend. We've been friends for a long time. Jim Jack is a sculptor, and he makes the most beautiful wooden sculptures, which he's going to tell you about. Welcome, Jim. Thank you very much for being with us today. Tell us, first of all, Jim, how did you get started as a sculptor?
Well, I originally started off as a painter. You know, I always wanted to be an artist, and being a painter seemed to be the thing to do. But you know, later on, I was having a problem with the painting, and I couldn't resolve it. But I just happened to be in the Tate one day, and I was looking at a painting by Millet, Christ in the Carpenter's Shop, and in the painting on the back wall were all these big wooden craft tools, and I decided what I wanted to do was to make the wood tools out of wood. There's almost a sort of surrealist concept, and I liked that idea. Also, at the same time, I was doing a drawing of a sack, very much weaved, and I was fascinated by the weave. And so I got some hardboard in strips of 3 inches by 8 feet, whatever. And on a frame, I weaved it all together. And I thought, okay, I like this. You know.
So painting became sculpture for you?
Yes, yeah. I preferred the 3-dimensionality of it, and I preferred the physical engagements of it.
I completely understand that. I feel the same. Sculpture's tricky though, isn't it? It's big and you need space. So where is your studio? Do you work from home?
I have a studio in Hackney Wick, which I've been there for about 20 years. It's a very creative area of London, but things are changing there through gentrification at the moment. But during the lockdown, I've been unable to access the studio.
That's
So,
very, very frustrating for a sculptor, isn't it? So how have you managed during the lockdown?
well, after a couple of weeks, when I could stand it no more, I decided I'm going to build a workshop in the garden.
See, the sculptor's solution.
Absolutely.
If in doubt, build a workshop.
No, but it was an effort, but it's done and it's working, and yeah, a good decision.
In a moment, we'll have a look at what you're doing in the shed in your new workshop. But we've got a film actually of your studio, of you in the studio in Hackney Wick. So it'd be really nice to see that. So should we have a look at that now?
I'm originally from the northeast of Scotland, and I grew up in a fishing village on the Moray Firth. And there I take a lot of my inspiration in the shapes of the fishing boats, the nets, the landscape, and there's a fascination of a sort of an accumulation of knowledge of shape and form. Things like a leaf that has dropped off a tree, and as it dries and as it curls up, those things inspire me. What really interests me in sculpture, I suppose, is line, and it's the swiftness of line. If I can make works that almost have that feeling of a drawing, which is almost spontaneous, with spontaneity, then that pleases me in my work, and that's what I head for. Mostly I start off with what if I do this? If I take this and I do that to it, what is the outcome? And so pieces lead on to third pieces, fourth pieces, cousins, and they merge. They have a dialogue. I'm like most makers who, we indulge. We indulge in our fantasies. We take those things that are inside us and bring them out. We not always know why or if. It could be a distant memory, a smell, or something like that. But it's about that need to get something out that is stuck within. And the only way to express it is through making, the process of making. The intent of my work and the vision of my work has always been organic. Wood is so tactile, and it can be hard, it can be soft, you can bend it, you can split it, you can twist it, you can stack it, you can colour it, you can shout at it. The wood will work with you. This almost partnership with the material.
Fantastic. That's a great film, actually, Jim. Thank you. Lovely studio. But you can't work there at the moment, so this is very frustrating. So you've got the shed, and you're working in the shed. Before you show us a little bit about how you do your work, Sallyanne, have you got any questions for Jim, or are there any questions coming in?
Yes, I do. I have one from Sugar Free Steve. He's asking, how did it feel when Jim sold his first piece of art? And was it easy to part with it?
It's a good question, isn't it?
Yes. Sense of loss, basically. I think it's the same with all the work. You put so much effort into it, and quite a few of my works aren't for sale, so that's why I'm still poor. But it's letting go isn't always, an easy thing, because in one hand you have the cash, and in the other hand you have the sculpture. And what would you rather have? For me, it's the sculpture. Yeah.
Good question, Sallyanne. Any more at the moment?
Yeah, I can kind of resonate with that. I don't really want to part with any of my paintings, but they're just not worth the money. Exhibitions, Jim, have you, which was your favourite?
Well, over the years I've had quite a few exhibitions, but I suppose my favourite ones have been in large spaces, you know, because some of my work is quite large, and so you need the distance. And you know, so I'm thinking of one particular exhibition where I had like 6 large pieces in there with the space to walk around them. That was really good. But again, they were too big. I mean, for people to buy.
Yeah, it's the sculptor's dilemma, isn't it? I think sometimes for sculpture, you don't really get to see the work properly until it's in a big space, do you?
Yes,
There's lots of other things in the way, aren't there? And
yeah, it's about getting the work out of the studio, because when it's in the studio, it still has all its other references, and when it's out in a different place, well, then that's when you see it for the first time, whether it really works.
yeah, lovely. Okay, so can you show us Jim, how you progress through making a sculpture, and maybe talk about at the moment, because you've got very limited tools at the moment, I assume, in your new workshop.
Yeah, yeah. After I'd finished the workshop, I had very little material or tools here. So you know what I've been using is the old trusty jigsaw. And it's a sort of, you know, the pieces of wood, which is, we've all got, you know, something like this, okay? And what I've done here, I've drawn this really sort of watery shape here on there, using the jigsaw. I'm left with this, yeah. And then sanding. So, you know, I've got a really bad file. I've got loads of sandpaper.
Do you hand sand it or machine sand?
I hand sand them, and all those people out there who are used to sanding, you know, it never ends. And so what I ended up with is a small piece like this, which is a sort of bird type object. And then so I made 2. And so then you have a relationship going on between the 2 pieces, you see. So with very little tools, you can still be creative.
So what would you do, those 2 pieces, are they finished now, Jim, or would you do more to them?
They would be burnished, which to burnish you'd rub harder wood onto a softer wood,
right?
And then they would be waxed. But,
so does that give them a kind of shine? Machine. Show us those 2 again. How would you exhibit those 2 if you were?
Well,
would they be on a plinth or?
Yes.
Or
they would be on a plinth, and so they would be at eye level. Yeah.
Okay, so a high plinth.
Yeah, so on a very high plinth.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because once you've got 2, they start to be more personable, and like a between them.
Yes, they started you know, a dialogue between each other. The curves, the negative space between them becomes part of it as well. So you have a relationship between these 2 objects. Yeah.
They'd be. Would you colour them? Do you ever colour your sculptures?
When I was a painter, I used to love painting and I used to love colour, but I haven't really ever coloured my work. Maybe white, but no, I quite like this sort of idea of truth to material. You know, it's a piece of wood. I want it to remain a piece of wood.
To look like a piece of wood.
Right. Yeah.
How long does that take? How long? So from to make a piece like those 2, how long does it take from beginning to end, do you think? I think well,
the cutting of it would take about the cutting of it take about 30 seconds, and the sanding is what takes the time.
So it's a lot of time for sanding.
Oh, you know, the finishing. It's always the finishing.
Yeah.
Is time consuming.
Okay. Sorry. Let's go. We're going to see some of your completed works in images in a moment, but let's go to see. Go back to Sallyanne, see if we've got any more questions.
Oh yes, Al, there's lots and lots coming through. At what age were you aware of your talent, Jim? That's from Steve.
Okay. Well, I'm not quite sure if I ever aware of my talent. It was more, you know, as I say, I always wanted to be a creative person. You know, where I grew up in the northeast of Scotland, you know, as a kid, it was about making things all the time, you know, and a sense of adventure, etc. And I suppose that fed into the idea that I wanted to be a creative person. You know? So it's always been there, this need.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Do you have any advice on where to start? Your sculptures are truly impressive, and look at what would be daunting to attempt. This is from Shirley.
Oh dear. Where do you start? Well, you start with an idea, or you start with a feeling. Yeah, you know, you can be walking along, and for me, as I mentioned before, you know, line is important for me. And so it's just about things that I'm attracted to, or it's material based, you know. You know, where do you start? Sometimes I just start with the material. What can I do with this? And I invent a way to work with it. And sometimes I have an idea and I go towards creating that, but that doesn't always work out. But, you know, just start.
Start. Just do it. Just do it.
Just begin. I think that's a very good bit of advice, actually, for anyone who wants to make things. Don't worry about being inspired or you know, finding your muse, or just do something. I think that's the thing. You just have to do it. You have to, you know, if you've got a piece of paper in front of you, just scribble on it. If you've got a set of things, just pile them up, see what happens. It's all about exploration, Jim, isn't it? You know, the process is. Yeah. It's all about the process. It's not about the thing at the end at all, is it?
Yeah. I'll show you an image, and I'll show you a bit of process. But before I show you, I also work with templates because of the nature of the material I use, which is usually found plywood, and it's very flat and uninspiring. I tend to make templates to make a sculpture, so I can build the sculpture up. And I'm just going to show you a template here for a sculpture, and then we'll look at how it ended up. Yeah? So here is an idea, and it's a boat shape, but it's symmetrical. And I was playing around in the studio with my compass, and I came up with this. And what I wanted was to take these two arms and move them so they close. Yeah. Through a series of templates. So if we look at image number 3, yeah, and this is the sculpture that was the result of these templates. I did not know what the final piece would look like. I only had an idea of the process I wanted to do. And so for me at the end, it was a wonderful surprise, you know.
So the templates are made from what?
I'll make the templates from a hardboard or card, yeah.
And then you'd cut the ply base, so you use that as a pattern, the template, as a kind of pattern for your timber.
Yeah. So I'll use that as a pattern. And in that sculpture, there's about 240 templates in that.
240. So there's 240 sections of plywood that you cut.
No, there's twice that plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's probably 600 in there, maybe.
Yeah, it's a bit like sanding. It becomes obsessive. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, good idea to be obsessive. You're cutting 600 pieces of
Yeah.
ply.
Yeah.
It's interesting material, Jim, isn't it? Because plywood is really rough wood. It's sort of a sandwich of layers of wood, isn't it?
Yes.
Why did you start using plywood?
When I got my first studio, it was next to a place that made boxes for transporting artworks. And then they used to dump the boxes in this yard, which are all made out of plywood and well made. So for 20 years, I had free material. But as I say, if I'd been next to a shoe factory, I'll be working in shoes. Because, yeah. So at the time, it was just the material I had. And
Yeah,
so,
it was what was available. But you've got a small sculpture there, haven't you, to show us, which is made by that system.
Yeah. Here is a small handheld sculpture, and again, it's been made using templates. You see.
So is that made from ply?
And no, this is actually made from a piece of pine that I found sticking out of a skip that had a really nice grain to it.
Can you show us it again, Jim? Sorry, it's so beautiful. Pull back a little bit because it's slightly out of focus. So yeah, it's amazing stripes. It's almost like the stripes have been kind of painted onto it.
Yes.
You made the templates and then cut the timber and sandwiched it all together.
Yeah, and then I, stack them up, and as you can see, it's been finished, which is quite rare for my sculpture.
Amazing. Sallyanne, have you got
yeah, they're absolutely flowing in. That's absolutely gorgeous, Jim. I love it. Kate is asking, what are the inspirations behind your work? Where do you get your inspiration from?
Okay, mostly natural forms or a theme. I have a sort of a religious theme going through my work, with his work, Jacob's ladder or the entry of Christ into Jerusalem. But that's the one side. But for the sculpture, it's natural forms. I love the way seed pods open or a leaf uncurls. So those things inspire me.
And the drawing you showed us reminded me of a sycamore wing.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called.
Yes.
The flying things for sycamores.
Yeah. In fact, I picked some of them up yesterday. So yes. Yeah.
Sallyanne, any more?
Yes, I've got two more. So Lorraine's asking, which is your favourite piece you've ever made? I've chosen mine already.
Have you? Okay. Which is my favourite piece? Well, I suppose the one we've just looked at. I was very pleased with that.
Should we go back to look at that again? So that was number 3, wasn't it?
Yeah. And also number 1. If we could look at number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this piece, actually, Jim. This is very big, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
How tall is it?
Well, it's about 5.5 feet. Yeah. But I'll usually show it on quite a high plinth.
Yeah.
Again, this is about ideas of growth. Yeah. Twisting, opening. Yeah. Which again, feeds into the natural theme of my work.
Is that hollow?
No, I'm afraid that one is solid. Yes.
Heavy?
Yeah. So it is heavy.
Sorry, with that have you burnished that? Is that plywood, that one?
Yes, that's different plies, and it's been made using templates, and then the old sanding down for days and days, and then polishing. Yes, so they are labor intensive.
Yeah. You've got some wall pieces that you've done, haven't you?
Yes, if we look at image number 5. Yeah. And here's a set of 7 leaning pieces. And with this, I was given the dowel, those long pieces of wood, and I had them for ages, having no idea what to do with them. So, you know, again, one day I just split one and sandwiched a piece in between them as I joined it, so that it exists under tension. So if you look at number 6, you can see a bit more detail. And all those round pieces of wood inside the dowel, which are all existing under tension. And those pieces of wood were made from different broom handles that I bought around the shops. Yeah.
Did you, so when you split the dowel, did you actually split it and glue it back together, or
Yes,
sort of ping it out?
yeah, I split it and put it back together, so you've still got that pressure from the dowel. So that's a different approach to my work. Yeah.
What I think is extraordinary about your work, Jim, is that you create these incredibly beautiful objects, but they're nearly all created from rubbish, aren't they? From things people have chucked away. I mean, the piece you were showing us earlier was a bit left over from building your workshop, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And I know that Momart, who you
Yes.
no, whose scrap you used for 20 years, have no idea that this is an art packaging company. No idea that Jim was using the scrap to make the most beautiful pieces of work.
Okay.
And it's fantastic. When you go back to the studio, will you go back to working in the same ways again? Because you've been in your workshop, you've been kind of limited on tools, haven't you?
Yes. Here I have the only tool I really miss is my old bandsaw. But I've always insisted that I would have a low tool threshold. I never wanted to have to rely that much on machinery. Yeah, you know, I always prefer this more personal, approach.
A strong connection with the material.
Yeah. What I do miss is all the other work, because that's, as I said in the video, the works lead on to other works. They feed each other.
Yeah. So it's kind of reconnecting with your own ideas as much as the equipment you work from. Yeah.
Yes, and having such a long time off, going back's going to be interesting. I'm going to go back with slightly different eyes.
Yeah.
We shall see. Yeah.
Fantastic. Have we got any more questions, Sallyanne?
I have one. I must ask it. Do you ever collaborate with other artists, Jim?
I've collaborated on a project with the artist Alex Julian, which was a social project, which I really enjoyed. But in the past, I've had a large commission, and originally, they wanted 19 sculptures. I got them down to 14. I really did not like the job. It was an industrial job. I had to get a team together. It was cold. It was in the winter. It was dusty. I really didn't like that. So now commissions, I say, well, no more than 2 sculptures. Yeah. So,
I think that for you, the connection between you as the maker and the making is very important, isn't it?
Yes, that's paramount to my activity. Yeah, it's that physical engagement, and if I get somebody else to make my work, I miss out in the process, and I miss out on the understanding of the process. So I'm slightly bereft at the end of that. Yeah.
And I think that the changes that happen in the process, you would miss, wouldn't you? If you design something which you gave, I mean, lots of sculptors do like that. They design something, it's given to someone else to make, and it's made. But then for you, and I know for me as well, those moments of change during the process can't happen because you've handed it over.
Yes, you lose control of it. And, you know, I'm very selfish. I like to say, I made this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's a very, very, very good point to end on, the selfishness of the sculptor.
Absolutely. Yes.
Jim, I don't think you're a selfish sculptor at all. I think sharing your work with us has been just brilliant today. Thank you so much. Lovely to see it. We've got some links on the YouTube channel so that you can see that film again, and you can see some of Jim's work and look at his website. So thank you very much, Jim. Fantastic to have you with us. And I'm going to say goodbye now. Thank you for having us in your living rooms or kitchens or toilet, wherever you are. Thank you very much. And I'm going to hand you back to Sallyanne to tell you about next week. Thank you also, Sallyanne. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, huge thanks, Al and Jim, Jack. Wow, totally inspiring. I think you'll all agree that was a fantastic experience. We hope you've all enjoyed watching. Don't forget to tell all your friends and family to subscribe, hit the like buttons, ding dong on those bells, watch out for our updates on Facebook, and don't forget to send in your pics of all your artwork, of your sculptures, your poems, your scripts, your jokes. We love to see them all. Also, please, guys and girlies, we appreciate all your feedback. So if you could just click on the link on the survey below and tell us what you think. You might have some suggestions for the future sessions, or just simply query how to become a member of Bravo 22. We have an action-packed week for you all. So Monday, Have a Brew Take 2 at 11. Tuesday at 11, here on our YouTube channel, we have the wonderful Ruth Sullivan and Dean Williams, who will be uncovering the secrets of Foley and the art of noise. Exciting. On Wednesday, we have 2 workshops for you to sign up to at 11, where we are with Francesca Beard for a workshop on the spoken word. And at 4 p.m, Gilly Gretton returns to lead a session on making prints for collage. So email alicepalmer@thedriveproject.co.uk today if you want to place on either or both of these. Finally, next Thursday, we return to the channel for our next session with Al Johnson, leading a creative debate with some great guests, Alex Julian and Gilly Gretton. And we really can't wait to see you all soon. So, cheerio from all of us here at Bravo 22. We hope you've enjoyed watching. Sending all our love and hugs. Take care, stay safe, and bye for now.